Okay. Just making sure we're live before I start. Looks like we're live on YouTube and we're live on Vertical. Okay. Cool. Let me make sure it looks right on Vertical. Okay, it's looking good on Vertical. Okay, guys. Welcome to the stream. It's me, Warners, and we're gonna go over the Apocalyptic Subclasses PDF. I'm gonna make VODs of each class. So I'm gonna have the oh, I need to get the chat going. But yeah, but I'm gonna have VODs of each class. And basically, I'm gonna be going over. Sorry, I'm doing multiple things at once. So I'm going over all the subclasses live right now, and then I'm gonna take this stream and I'm gonna make individual VODs for each subclass. So just bear with me here on how I talk throughout the stream. I might talk to the future YouTube watchers. So yeah. But I did, unlike previous UAs that I've read over, usually I save reading over basically any of it until I'm live. Because it's been a couple days, I did read over most of it already, but I haven't like deep dived into it yet. And I listened to some other YouTubers and I've watched their videos to kind of get their takes on it and see where I kind of disagree with some of them, because I disagree with a lot of them. And also just to see if there's anything I like happen to not notice or stuff like that. And one thing I noticed about all the YouTubers I watched, I'm not going to name any names just to keep it friendly. But a lot of people, like a lot of them, they seem to give their take on how good they thought the subclass was based on how their table runs the game. And I think it's really important to mention how every table plays a little differently. And so saying something is good or bad is really dependent on their table. It really depends on your table, and especially with a lot of these subclasses, there's a lot of things that at some tables could be really powerful or really good, and at other tables maybe not so much. So we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. And I also have, I'm not saying this stream will be 4 hours, but I have 4 hours, so if we need to, I'll get pretty in depth, so that'll be fun. I'm actually gonna pull up D&D Beyond real quick because there is some stuff from the player's handbook that I want to have easy access to, so that if I need to show you guys something, I can easily do that. Like, I definitely want to make sure I have all the resources that the main classes have available for me to show you and be like, hey, look, see, this thing I'm talking about is real. And yeah, like I'm going to be talking about Second Wind, and we'll get to it. Let's go ahead and start reading this UA. Okay. Also, if you didn't know, it's very obvious that I feel like it's like 100% basically. We're getting a Dark Sun setting book, which is crazy. If it's not Dark Sun, it's obviously like they wanted to do Dark Sun and they decided to instead do something else, because again, I am a 5e baby. Again, 5e is 10 years old now, so, and I'm 30, so 5e came out when I was 20, so I feel like it, for my age, it makes sense that I'm a 5e baby. Because I didn't really get access to it until I was like, I didn't play when I was a teenager like a lot of people do. So yeah, I never played Dark Sun, but I have watched videos discussing it, and I'm familiar with similar settings. Like, it's obviously heavily inspired by Dune, and very post-apocalyptic stuff. I bet Mad Max could also be considered a inspiration, so yeah. Um, this also puts into perspective the Scion playtest we got not too long ago. It makes sense why we got that playtest, But anyway, so we have the Circle of Preservation Druid, the Gladiator Fighter, the Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer, and the Sorcerer-King Patron Warlock, which with Dark Sun makes sense. Yeah. Oh, also, one thing I would like to note is some of these subclasses, when I first read them, I was reading them at work, and one of my coworkers is also into D&D. He actually is a player in one of my campaigns. And I was kind of skimming it and reading it aloud to him, and I had such a journey. Like the things that popped out to me, it was like I was like, that's so amazing, and then I was like, that sucks. And anyway, it was a journey going over all these, but now I actually have the time to sit down and read everything clearer. So let's get to it. So now we're going to go over the Circle of Preservation Druid. Safeguard nature and heal the world. Druids of the Circle of Preservation work tirelessly to conserve natural resources and restore places once ruined by greed and exploitation. Through a combination of conservation and restorative magic, druids of this order shield and spread life across the land. The most powerful members of this order can return vitality to barren fields, transforming wastelands into thriving wildernesses once more. This, in the context of Dark Sun, makes it a really interesting subclass because they're trying to preserve what little life is left in a dying world and trying to even restore what has been broken. And that's a pretty cool subclass to have in a post-apocalyptic setting, in my opinion. So I think the thematics for this subclass, I already think are top tier. Without the context of Dark Sun, I feel like the thematics aren't as powerful. So yeah. Let's go ahead and start with the Circle of Preservation spell list. So we have Bless, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Poison, and Sanctuary. Of course, there's spells on here that druids already get access to, but for a druid to be able to pick up Bless and Sanctuary is really nice. Lesser Restoration is nice to have because Lesser Restoration doesn't always come up, but when it comes up, it's really nice to have. And I've been in situations where I didn't put it on my spell list, and to have it just already on there is really nice. Also, if you don't know, the new Lesser Restoration is a bonus action, so that's pretty sweet. Then we got level 5, Beacon of Hope and Plant Growth. Beacon of Hope is pretty okay spell. Plant Growth is amazing. Druids already get this spell, but it's nice to have it auto prepared. We get Aura of Life and Death Ward. Aura of Life is, again, similar to Beacon of Hope. It's a pretty good spell, but I don't know how much I would actually be casting it. Death Ward is pretty good. It's a little expensive, but eventually 4th level spells for you as a full caster won't be as big of a deal. And I feel like then Death Ward will be a lot easier to use. But when you get at 7th level, it's a little pricey. Then we have Greater Restoration and Hollow. Greater Restoration, just like Lesser Restoration, is a good spell to have on your list. And Hollow is whatever. It's kind of cool. A little cooler on the new cleric, But then we have this feature, Preserved Land. Oh, what's up? I'm a bit scared to see what WotC does with original Dark Sun lore if they actually place the UA in a new Dark Sun campaign setting. Yeah, I definitely, as someone who hasn't played Dark Sun, it seems like a setting they could mess up because it's very specific. It's a very, from what I have read about it, it's a very dark setting. It's a very like there's actually a lot of political messages in it, which is pretty interesting and cool. And then also, from what I recall from reading, it seems like there was a lot of restrictions on magic. Let me know if I'm wrong or right. Like, it seems like there were classes that you couldn't play potentially, and I wonder what they're gonna do with that. You know, with the because I don't think they would restrict classes in the setting. So how are you gonna make paladins or like how are you gonna make certain classes make sense in the setting? You know, that might be hard to do. We have preserved land as a bonus action. You can spend one use of your wild shape to fill a 15-foot cube originating from a point on the ground you can see within 120 feet of yourself with a revitalizing energy. The effect lasts for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition, or more than are more than 120 feet away from the cube, or die. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the cube, you can grant the creature one of the following benefits. The creature gains temporary hit points equal to 1d4 plus your druid level, or purify. You end one effect on the creature that's causing it to have the frightened or poison condition. In addition, non-magical vegetation native to the region sprouts on the ground within the cube. This vegetation disappears when the effect ends. As a bonus action on subsequent turns, you can move the cube up to 30 feet to another area on the ground within 120 feet of yourself. Cool. So yeah, preserved land. Oh my god. Preserved land, I feel like, is a very good ability. As many have mentioned, it is very, very similar to the Twilight Cleric 3rd level ability. I think, I think it's a little more balanced on this character. Because first of all, you're a druid, you're not a cleric. And then the Twilight Cleric got a lot of other things. But I feel like it's just a little too much temporary HP. And there's already so many temporary hit point abilities. It's kind of like, what? Level 5 Circle of Preservation Druid, cast theorycraft to get a blade of grass to spring up, then cast plant growth to create it. Nature Preserve. Oh yeah, that's I never thought of using Druidcraft to enable plant growth. That's actually pretty cool. Because yeah, plant growth is pretty situational for the most part. But yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind. But I've kind of gone back and forth. Okay, so I think because we're getting so many temporary hit point abilities, that having another class with the temporary hit point ability is kind of like, come on, like, okay, so I actually made my own druid subclass recently that has kind of a similar theme. It's the Circle of Herbalism Druid, and I have plant forms, kind of like the Circle of Stars Druid. And one of the plant forms, they can, as a reaction to someone regaining hit points, they can additionally add their druid level and hit points to that target, which is cool because it's a little situational. You have to have a person that is being healed, and so it's someone that took damage. And then even though your druid level is a lot, it requires your whole reaction, and then it's not temporary hit points. So let's say they heal 10 HP and they had only 15 HP, like they're only 15 HP down, your extra healing will only heal an extra 5, you know. So anyway, I feel like every single person in the area getting temporary hit points, I don't know. I think it's fine. I would have to see it in play, but did anyone have a Twilight Cleric in their game? Let me know if it was like super broken or not. I don't know. Oh. Also, dude, this always happens whenever I stream. For some reason, the chat like it only lasts, it stays up for like a couple seconds. And then I have to like mess with a bunch of settings to like make it not do that. So I wasn't even able to read your last message because I'm so annoyed. Let me see if I can see it. Oh, I got it right here. Cool. I would like preserve land to leave a patch of grass plants when the effect ends. Yeah, that would be kind of nice thematically. It's kind of weird that it goes away. Okay, this is my opinion on preserve land. It's a little overtuned, but I think it's probably fine. I don't know. Druids are fun. Just maybe let them have a cool thing. I don't know. It also depends on your table. Like if your DM is having you like if your DM is having a bunch of AoE damage hit you, then this is really really powerful. But if like only a couple targets are getting hit with damage and like the squishies in the back aren't really getting hit much, it's not like that crazy. I don't know. I like it though. I like it thematically. I think maybe they should just tone it down a bit. Maybe give a little less temporary hit points. And another thing I'd like to say, this UA has this weird thing where it has a bunch of abilities that other subclasses already have. So I don't get why, like, it feels a little uncreative. I don't know. Which, oh, this one? Yeah, I'll get to that here soon. I will, yeah, reject disgrace. How do you even pronounce that? Reject desecrators. Yeah, sorry. I haven't seen desecrators written out in a while. Yeah, so I'll read that here in a second. Yeah, so yeah, this is my final thing about preserved land. I think it's a little overtuned and a little uncreative, but it's probably fine. Tone it down a little bit and we're good. Then we got student preservation. This is very much a ribbon feature. I don't even know why they added this. They already have spell list and they already have a really powerful ability. I guess a lot of druid subclasses have 3 third level abilities, so they felt like they had to add this. When you cast a druid spell, you can cast it without material components, except material components that are consumed by the spell that have a cost specified in the spell. And additionally, whenever you cast a druid spell that requires a material component that is consumed by the spell, there's a 10% chance that it's not consumed, basically. So if you cast a Revivify, there's a 10% chance that the diamond will not be consumed. If that ever happens in your campaign, it'll be kind of nice, but you'll also probably forget you have the ability, in my opinion. Yeah. And then we got improved preservation. Yeah, you also get an artisan tool, by the way, with that ability. But at level 6, we get improved preservation. Oh, we got wait. We got some people in the other chat. Let me see. Bacon Commander, I love your name. Druid is cleric, fighter is bard, sorcerer is necromancer, and warlock is sorcerer. Yeah. I think what a lot of reviewers for these new subclasses miss is the setting. It's so much more hostile and dangerous on the whole. Yeah, and unfortunately I haven't played Dark Sun, but I've read about it enough to kind of get the context a bit more. So we got fortified protectors. While inside the cube created by your preserved land, you and your allies gain a bonus to constitution saving throws equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum +1. I really like this one. This is really cool. And especially because you could get Warcaster and then you could get Resilient Constitution. And basically your con mod is like yeah, you'll never break concentration or very rarely. So that would be pretty cool. I don't mind this at all. But then let's read reject desecrators and we'll see what Mark is talking about. Whenever the cube created by your preserved land enters an enemy space, and whenever an enemy enters the cube or ends its turn there, the enemy makes a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the enemy takes 2d10 radiant damage. Okay. And its speed is halved until the end of its next turn as new growth rises to hinder it. Okay. On a successful save, the enemy takes half as much damage only. An enemy makes the save only once per turn. Okay. And then Mark said reject desecrator seems to be overkill with previous ability effect. Instead, rename and redo the feature to just restrain target. So does it do anything to enemies before level 6? Let me see. No, it doesn't. But I get what you're saying because it does so many positive things. Is that kind of what you're saying? Yeah, so like, okay, so with this at level 6, so think about this. At level 6, you're giving everyone in the cube an average of 8 temporary hit points if they end their turn in the cube, your allies. And you are also making it so they get con saving throw proficiency. No, what? They get to add your wisdom modifier to the con saving throws. Then also, when enemy ends its turn there, they get 2d10 of radiant damage and their speed is halved till the end of the next turn. And it's half on a save, so they're gonna take damage no matter what. But the enemy only makes the save once per turn. Okay. But it's 2d10 radiant damage. And it doesn't scale at all? So that's one thing to keep in mind. At level 6, it's pretty freaking good. But 2d10 radiant damage at level 20 isn't that much. So their speed being halved is nice because there's nobody that's immune to their speed being halved, I'm pretty sure. But there are technically creatures that are immune to restrain. And I would say restrain is a more debilitating ability than your speed being halved. Because restrained, I talk about this a lot in my videos. Restrained is way underrated because it makes your speed 0. It makes it so all attack rolls against you are at advantage, and all of your attack rolls are at disadvantage. And you have disadvantage on all dex saving throws. Restrained is really debilitating. So I would argue personally that 2d10 radiant damage and speed being halved really isn't that bad. And that restrained could potentially be even worse. That depends on your group though. But yeah, that's just my take. Okay. Then we got the level 10 feature, Facilitated Restoration. You can cast Lesser Restoration or Greater Restoration without expending a spell slot or requiring spell components. Okay. You can use this feature to cast a spell in this way a number of times equals your wisdom modifier, and you can regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So I had a lot of people, like, I've heard a lot of people, this is, I guess, DM dependent. But in my opinion, I think Greater Restoration and Lesser Restoration are kind of underrated. Especially Greater Restoration, in the context of it being able to remove exhaustion. Again, I play in a campaign where we have a house rule that makes it so exhaustion happens a bit more often. So in actual play, for a lot of people, it probably won't be that big of a deal. But I think, like, It says without expending a spell slot or requiring spell components. Greater Restoration normally costs like 100 gold, I think it is, of diamonds. Preserve lands lets player leave and re-enter Emanation to keep refreshing temp HP. Yes, but they have to end their turn there. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the cube. So it would only happen once per turn. And yeah. Also, with, like I said earlier, a lot of people forget that the new Lesser Restoration is a bonus action. So you could cast a leveled spell and then cast Lesser Restoration without expending a spell slot. And Lesser Restoration ends the poison condition. Like, I could just pull it up real quick. I'm gonna. So I'm not gonna adjust the screen. I'll just read it. Yes, you can see the important part though. You end the blinded, deafened, paralyzed, and poisoned. So being able to end the paralyzed condition, the blinded condition, the poison condition as a bonus action without consuming a spell slot, that's actually pretty good. And Greater Restoration, let's see. So, Mark, so I'm streaming on vertical live and also horizontal live. And so yeah, but people haven't messaged in a while, so there's that. But also I have this problem where it doesn't like, oh, it's so annoying. It keeps like deleting messages so quickly, and oh, it's so annoying. I need to figure out how to fix this. But yeah, it's supposed to not do that. Visibility. Yeah, so basically I'm streaming in two different rooms. So Greater Restoration. Do this. Oh wait, shit. I just messed up everything. Damn it. I had it perfect. Okay. And then I messed everything up, guys. I'm sorry. I guess that. Okay, I fixed it. But Greater Restoration, it requires 100 gold pieces of diamond dust. You get rid of exhaustion, charm, petrified, a curse, putting the target's tomb as a curse magic item, any reduction of one's target's ability. Yeah, I feel like the rest of Restoration is a little better actually. Like it'll help you more often than Greater Restoration, is I guess my point. We're gonna fix this. Bacon Commander. I'm new here. Got a suggestion from the algo. I have a question. Why Comrade Warners? So my original, so I wanted to just be Warners, but Warners was taken, and so I just added Comrade. because I needed to come up with a word that was kind of original sounding and that was not taken. My I actually originally started making World of Warcraft content, and my character in World of Warcraft was Warner's, so yeah. Anyway, though, level 14, we got so yeah, I think that facilitated restoration is a little underrated, and I think it's actually pretty good. I didn't hear people talking about it that much. So yeah, where is, sorry, just making sure I have all these chats available. Okay, and then we got level 14 Sacrosanct Land. The size of the cube created by your preserved land increases to a 30-foot cube. In addition, when a creature you can see in the area of your preserved land is hit by an attack roll, you can take a reaction to have that attack's damage against the creature. I like this. I like it when effects in a subclass kind of stack, you know? Stack's probably the wrong term. When they I like it when they kind of build on each other, you know? And this definitely builds on the previous abilities, and I like that a lot. Yeah. If this is released to print exactly how it is in this document, I think it'll be fine. People are worried about these sort of abilities, you know, the preserved land abilities. But I would say, how often do you think people are going to choose this druid over the other druid subclasses just because of preserved land? Maybe a lot. I don't know. It depends on the table. And it depends on like depending on your party composition, it could be less or more beneficial in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I think they could tone it down a bit, and that would be fine. Like, I'm pretty okay with it either way. But I like the concept. I think in the context of the Dark Sun setting, it's really thematic and really cool. And I'm excited to see it in whatever book we're getting. So yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have the Gladiator. My first impressions of this is I like it a lot. Able to be here for a bit. I'm seeing most of the arguments from Preserve Land being it's just another Twilight domain. Yeah, I think it's not very creative of the team to make just another like I think a lot of these subclasses are guilty of just having abilities from other subclasses. And Gladiator, I agree. Gladiator is my favorite subclass in this UA. I do have some problems with it, but it's also better to me than I initially thought when I first read it. And there's very specific reasons for that. And I'm going to go over that in detail. So first of all, I think a lot of people, if you're not very aware of the new fighter and how the new fighter works, this subclass could feel a little underwhelming, and all you'll see what I mean as I get to it. I really like the new subclasses, but what you say is true. It's recycled abilities from other classes, subclasses. Yeah, and I feel like I want new stuff, you know? I want new things. Well, and what's weird is they even recycled abilities from subclasses that came out in the player's handbook, like the new player's hand, like very recent like subclasses, and I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Especially if they're used properly. Dark Sun only, of course. Do Do what you want at your tables. Yeah. Some people already hate weapon mastery, so they're less than happy with Gladiator adding even more. So I like weapon masteries, but they're not like that powerful, I guess. And also, okay, before we get into the subclass, I want to talk about subclass design for fighters in general, because I think that's important to the context of this. Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean, Bacon Commander. There's basically two routes that fighters go for fighter subclasses. They either get a dice system, and what I mean by that is there's about three routes. There is the dice system, like the Battle Master and the Psi Warrior, where they get like, oh, you get this Psi dice or these Battle Master dice, and you get to add damage and do an effect. And those are usually pretty solid because it gets unique abilities and it adds extra damage. And you're a fighter, so getting extra damage is freaking sweet. Or you go the champion route, where you don't have abilities that add any extra damage. Like, you have the potential to add extra damage with your crit rate going up with champion, but you technically don't get any guaranteed extra damage. But you get to use your abilities in a different way. Or the third route is with fighters is the Arcane Archer route. And we saw in the previous Arcane subclasses playtest is you get to use abilities with a secondary stat ability that many times per short or long rest. So for example, the Arcane Archer, they get to use their Arcane Shot ability now with the last playtest, or intelligence mod times per short or long rest. And what's interesting about this subclass is I feel like it's a combination of the Arcane Archer and the Champion Fighter type of subclass design, because Brutality doesn't inherently add any extra damage, but it also requires a resource that's limited. And that's unique. And I don't know if I like that. You get what I mean? We'll get into it though. I'll read some comments first before I get into it. So we got some people already hate. Oh yeah, I do too. I'm from 3.5, so I want Tome of Battle classes to come back. Give me Warblade. This is close. This is a close second, I guess. Then there's the wizard route, like the Arcane Trickster. Yeah, Eldritch Knight. Yeah, Rune Knight add spells. Yeah, there is that way too. So yeah, I guess there's kind of a fourth way. So, and then Bacon Command. I don't expect any of it. Yeah, I already read that. Yeah, I think weapon masteries are really cool, but like, yeah, okay. Let's get into it, and I'll share what I feel. Okay. So okay, let's read the synopsis of them. Gladiator Fighter, Master Brutality, and Bloodsport. Gladiators are just as much performers as they are warriors, whether brawling in underground fighting rings or fighting for survival in bloodstained arenas. A gladiator combines martial skill with theatrics to awe and intimidate their audiences. So, level 3 Brutality, shaped by the intensity of the arena. You've learned to execute brutal martial moves once per turn. When you hit a creature with an attack roll using a melee weapon, you can add one of the following brutality effects of your choice. You can do this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. Bleed, you can activate the Sap Mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon, and the target takes extra damage equal to your charisma modifier. Okay, so that one does add damage. I might have missed that a little bit, but it is just your charisma modifier, and that's probably not going to be 5 unless you multi-class. The extra damage type is the same as the weapon's damage type. Yep. Bluff, you can activate the Vex mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon. And you have advantage on the next saving throw you make before the end of your next turn. Situational, but pretty good. And then you got Stumble. You can activate the Topple mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon. And on its next turn, the target can take only an action or bonus action, not both. Okay, so one thing to note, these all do a weapon mastery property and a second thing, and I think that's easy to overlook. Sap makes it so that their next attack roll is at disadvantage. You also get to add your charisma mod and damage, which will probably end up being 3 through most of your time playing this character. 3 extra damage, not bad, not great. Yeah, bleed is decent. I think it's pretty decent, but not amazing. What is the ability score spread at creation for Gladiator? Probably the same stat you'd give a paladin, or at least the same for a ranger, but charisma instead. Yeah, I could see you being, again, I don't have like the point by stuff memorized, but like if depending on if you're going dex or strength, one of those stats, put it at 15, and then with your background, make that dex 17, and then make your con 14, and then make your charisma 15, and then make it so that your background makes it so you get a +1 in charisma to make it a 16, so you get a +3 charisma, but you're gonna have a lot of low mental stats, and if you're not going dex, your armor class is going to be pretty low. So things to keep in mind. So maybe lower than that, so that I feel like all of the secondary ability score classes for fighter, well, again, you can go heavy. Okay, if you're not going heavy armor, you want to use dex, basically. Is kind of how I feel. Yeah, but if you're going, yeah, you have heavy armor, I don't know, it'll be fine. Yeah, you'll probably have 3 charisma. Maybe at higher levels you can get up to +4 charisma. And again, I'm saying if you're not multi-classing at all, you could potentially get to +5 charisma at high levels, because fighters do get extra feats compared to other classes. But again, I don't know. It depends on how you want to build it. As a gladiator, flavor-wise, you wouldn't go heavy armor. Yeah, that's the thing. Is thematically, it feels weird to go heavy armor. I feel like a high dexterity gladiator would fit the best. And I want to discuss a bit of like weapon combos that I think would be fun. So, okay, out of bleed, bluff, and stumble. So I talked about bleed. Let's talk about bluff. So you get Vex mastery. This makes it so you can have advantage on your next attack roll. You also get advantage on the next saving throw you make before the end of your next turn. That's situational, but it's fine. And then stumble. Okay, topple mastery. I really like the topple weapon mastery. And then the target can only take an action or bonus action, not both. That secondary ability I don't think is actually that good, because I DM and play, and I've scoured through a decent amount of the new monster manual, and there's tons of creatures that don't even have a bonus action ability. So very situational in my opinion. Yeah. But then stumble, I do like the topple weapon mastery. It makes it so they go prone. They have to make a saving throw though. I wish these abilities were charisma mod each, or at least recharge each combat. But then we're back. We're back to 40. Yeah, yeah. I think you get too few in my opinion. But you do get them back on a short rest, so that's something to keep in mind. But this is actually something okay. I'm gonna go back to something I talked about at the beginning of the stream. I think that a lot of these depend on the table you play at, because some tables only have a few combats a day, and some tables have like so many combats a day. At my table, this subclass would probably be pretty powerful, because at my table we have maybe 1 to 2 combats per adventuring day. Usually those combats are very intense and we're using like all of our resources. But and usually if we have 2 combats, there is almost always a short rest in between. So at my table, this would be really powerful. At some tables where you do a lot more combats, this might be not as powerful. But also, maybe you knowing that you're gonna have a lot of combats, you maybe will save a lot of these resources until the like big fight. So that's something to keep in mind. But out of Bleed, Bluff, and Stumble, I like Stumble the most, mostly because I just like toppling things. I think Topple is one of the best weapon masteries. And the fact that you can use this with any weapon really opens up a lot of options, in my opinion. I think it would be really fun to have a dagger throwing build where you're tossing daggers and making people fall to the ground. It's just kind of a funny image in my mind. But also, like, you could combine Stumble with like a push weapon, so you can push someone and topple them. A lot of this kind of just feels like the barbarians stuff that they can do, though. Their brutal strike, you know. But that's like at like 10th level barbarian, and you're doing this at level 3, so that's pretty cool. Bleed and Stumble is probably what I'd use the most often. With Bluff being probably when I'm fighting a spellcaster, you know. Yeah. Short rests are a problem though. You have to see, that depends though. Some tables you don't have to beg for short rests. But yeah, a paladin fighter build with daggers and smiting would be freaking epic. Subclasses need to focus on their own identity and not get features from their classes just at different levels. Yeah, I totally get what you mean, man, for sure. I agree. Yeah, I think this would be fun to play at the table. I just think it's not going to be that damaging of a sub. Like, you're not, if you want to do a lot of damage, especially at level 3, the Gladiator isn't the one you pick. But level 7, things start to change a bit. I really like level 7 ability. So yeah, actually, would the bleed master, like, would bleed hit work on multiple creatures if you use it with cleave? I wonder that. And it would definitely work with grays. You can activate sap. Well, actually, let me read it. Let me double check. You can activate the sap mastery property, and okay. Actually, once per turn, when you hit, it wouldn't work with grays then, because grays, it deals damage even if you don't hit. This says when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a melee weapon, you can add one of the following brutality effects of your choice. So yeah, unfortunately, it wouldn't work with grays. But with cleave, yeah, like, could you topple 2 creatures with stumble if you use it with cleave? That would be pretty fun. I don't know. Yeah, so it'll work like poison. You have to actually hit with the attack. Yeah. Oh, my fix would be that if the warlock can get 1 day recharge on what would normally take a short rest. I'd want that with this subclass too. Yeah, I think that would be fair. I think they should do that also with the arcane archer. But yeah, basically, I just think you get maybe a little too few uses. Battle theatrics, let's go to that. This is mostly a ribbon feature. It's not just a ribbon feature. It will be helpful, but like this is like a secondary thing for roleplay. But let's just read it. You've honed your combat skills to entertain devastating opponents and dazzling onlookers. You gain the following benefits: when you make a dexterity, acrobatics, or strength athletics check, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your charisma mod +1, a minimum of +1. You gain proficiency in one of the skills of your choice: acrobatics, athletics, deception, intimidation, or performance. Arcane Archer needs some help. Yes, it does. So, acrobatics and athletics getting a bonus is really helpful for skill checks, but also there's a lot of spells that still require you to make an athletics check to escape certain restrained type conditions and stuff, so that'll be helpful. And then getting an extra skill proficiency, that's really cool, especially the more charisma focused ones: deception, intimidation, and performance. Those are nice to have for roleplay scenarios. Yeah, no, totally. But then Flourish Parry. Okay, so Flourish Parry, I didn't like at first. And then after looking back at the fighter base class abilities, I started to like it more. And I'll explain what I mean. So let's read it first. So you learn to stylishly counter blows from your opponents. When an enemy hits you with a melee attack roll, you can take a reaction to add your charisma modifier minimum of 1 to your AC against the attack, potentially causing the attack to miss. If this reaction causes the attack to miss, you can retaliate with a powerful counterattack as part of the same reaction. One thing to note about this is important. You can activate this even if they already would have missed, in my opinion. So it says whenever an enemy hits you with a melee attack, you can take a reaction to add your charisma modifier to your AC. It doesn't say like... no, it says hits. Oh. Never mind, yeah. No, they have to be hitting you. So if they miss, then they wouldn't be hitting you. Okay. So this is kind of weird. So this is something to keep in mind. No, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so think about this. Let's say your AC is 15, which is kind of low, but let's say it is for math, and they hit you with a, their hit is a 17. You could use this ability, but if they hit you with a 13 and miss, you just can't use this ability. Which, like, I don't know. Basically what I'm saying is maybe you actually don't want your AC to be that high to be able to use this more often. I don't know. I think it could be a barbarian subclass easily. But okay. If this reaction causes the attack to miss, you can retaliate with a powerful counterattack as part of the same reaction. Make an attack roll with a melee weapon against the triggering creature. If this attack hits, you can use one of your brutality effects on the target without expending a use of that feature. Once this counterattack hits, you can't use this feature to make another counterattack until you finish a long rest. You can also restore your use of this counterattack by expending a use of your second wind. My problem with this is that parry ability comes online at 7, but you'd be better off taking defensive duelist at 4th level. So I have a lot of opinions about this. So first of all, I think thematically it's awesome, but being able to do a riposte I think is super cool. Because, okay, so this is similar. This is basically a combination of two Battlemaster maneuvers. There is the parry and riposte. There's the parry Battlemaster maneuver, and there's riposte Battlemaster maneuver. This is letting you do both as a reaction. The thing though is, it's your charisma mod, so you're gonna do like, it's just like, it'll give you like a +3. And if it's basically, I feel like you're not going to be able to use this that often because it has to be high enough that they would have hit you if they didn't like. Okay, so let's go back to the AC example. So let's say your AC is 15 and they roll a 16, then you can use this. But if they and let's say your charisma bonus is +3, if they roll a 20, then you can't use this because they're gonna hit you anyway, even if you add a +3. So basically, what I'm saying is, out of the D20 rolls that they can roll, it's only within the window of whatever your charisma mod is. Does that make sense? So if you have a +3 charisma, then they have to specifically hit within that window, because if they miss without using your reaction, then you can't use this, and if they hit you anyway, then you can't use it either. You get, does that make sense? Do you kind of get what I mean now? I think that's kind of unfortunate, but then there's the problem, and this is where I changed my mind. It says you can use this only once per long rest, but then you can expend second wind. I was thinking about second wind in 2014, where there wasn't that many uses of second wind. There's actually a lot more uses of second wind now with the new fighter, and I'll show you. Okay, so previously should I look 20? I'll look up 2014 real quick. So 2014 fighter. How many uses of second wind do you get? Let's check that real quick. You get, I think you just get 2, and that's it, right? No, you just get 1, and does it never go up? You just get 1, and it never goes up, but you get it back on a short rest. So I was thinking about that, but the new fighter, guys, this is important to know. Right at level 1, you get 2 uses of second wind. At level 4, you get 3 uses. At level 10, you get 4 uses. So that means by level 10, so when you first get this feature, you can use it 3 times per day, or 4 times per day. Eventually 5 times per day. But then also, if you read second wind, where is it? Okay. You can use this feature twice. You regain 1 expanded use when you finish a short rest, and you regain. Okay, so actually, you also get 1 use back on a short rest. So that means, let's say you're able to get 2 short rests in. Okay, that means that at the level you get this, you can use it like 6 times. So that's actually a lot of uses. But again, like I said, you have to get in a very specific window to be able to use it. But basically, being able to make an attack miss and do a reaction attack, I think is really cool, especially because you could also use these brutality effects. You could topple the creature that with a reaction and do attack versus 3 for the same 2 short rests in 2014. Yeah. So that's a pretty good bonus. So I really like Flourish Parry is my favorite ability of this subclass, even though I have problems with it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that you should be able to use it even if they would have missed without using it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, let's go to level 10. We got bolder brutalities. Your brutal martial prowess has improved. The following effects are added to your brutality options: Rive, Rush, and Stagger. Rive, you can activate the Cleave Mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon. You can add your ability modifier to the damage of the additional attack made as part of the property's activation. That's cool. This makes the Cleave Mastery do more damage than the base Cleave Mastery would do. But again, Cleave is very situational, so keep that in mind. But again, you can use this whenever you want. So, yeah. If it worked like Berserker Barbarian's Retaliation, I'd like it more too. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean, for sure. We got Rush. You can activate the Push Mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon, and you can immediately move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. That's pretty good too, because you're able to push someone and then run away from them. That's pretty sweet. But also kind of situational. I don't know. It's pretty good. It's fine. And then we got Stagger. You can activate the Slow Mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon. And the target has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes before the end of its next turn. Before the end of your next turn. Okay, yeah, I like that one. And also, at level 10 Fighter, you get the ability to use... Again, you can't stack these, but like... Or level 9 Fighter, you get Tactical Master. When you attack with a weapon whose mastery property you can use, you can replace the property with the Push, Sap, or Slow property for that attack. So keep that in mind. You're able to basically use any weapon and have access to so many different masteries, so that's really cool. This is a very versatile, strategic fighter, and I like that. I think that's cool. I want to use that push to save my squishy wizard friend. Yeah, that's a pretty good use of it, for sure. Yeah. Okay, and then we got Mutilate, level 18. When you hit a bloody creature with an attack roll, okay. Oh wait, I didn't read 15. Sorry, let's read that. Okay, level 15, Brutal Resurgence. When you use your second wind to regain hit points, you gain an expended use of Brutality. You also regain an expended use of Brutality whenever you use your action surge. I think this is fine, but I feel like if I was actually playing this character at a table and level 15 happened, I would be kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I would feel kind of disappointed. But remember, you do also get additional action surges at level... You get 2 uses at level 17, which is 2 levels later. And then the thing is, you're going to be using Second Wind for Flourish Parry. So I don't like that it gives you, like, I don't know. It would. It wouldn't. So Tactical Mind makes it so you can, when you're using a weapon, you can use other weapon masteries than what's on the weapon normally. So you could do that with the weapon and then do a brutality thing, but you couldn't do 3. You get what I'm saying? You could switch one from the base weapon and then use your brutality, but you couldn't do 3. So, yeah, that makes sense. When you fail an ability check, you can expend the use of your second one to push yourself towards success rather than regaining hit points. Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm thinking of Tactical Master. You're right. Tactical. Yeah, so I know. Okay, yeah. That ability. Yeah, that's the one you get pretty low level, isn't it? That's the one you get. Oh yeah, yeah, you get a level 2. Yeah, this one. I see what you're talking about. So would Brutal Resurgence stack when you use your, it specifically says when you use your second wind to regain hit points. So it does not work with Tactical Mind, unfortunately. And that's the thing, is it's this subclass gives you another way to use second wind. But I just feel like you're gonna second wind is a very important resource for this character. You know, I don't know. I feel like this could just be like, I don't know. Those precious second wins. You know, I don't know. It's just kind of my thought. Does that make sense? Like, I wish this was just like, I don't know, like when you use second wind. That would be crazy. I would love that if it was just whenever you use your second wind for any reason, you gain a use of brutality. I think that would feel really good. Also, precious action surges. Yeah, true. If it just like, because like, let's say you used your second wind for flourish parry and you got a brutality back. I feel like that's fine. I don't feel like that's broken at all. And then we have level 18 mutilate that feel real good at 15. Yeah, I think it would. Level 18 mutilate, when you hit a bloodied creature with an attack roll. Bloodied creature. I get it, but very specific. You can attempt to critically injure it. Okay. The target makes a Constitution saving throw, DC 8 plus your Charisma modifier and proficiency bonus. Okay. On the failed save, the target suffers the following effects. Okay, before I even get into these things, you're level 18 and you're making a con saving throw based on a fighter's charisma modifier. I don't like that. And you're level 18, so you are a fighter. Maybe you have like yeah, you could have 2 levels and you're level 20, but yeah. The average, okay, this is perfect. So when I make my build videos, I look at there's this table I found that shows someone took the, I'll just, so okay, this table, they took the average CR, they took the new monster manual. Oh, this is the 2014. Let's do 2024. Average saving throws and AC 2024 monster manual. Is it this one? No, it's for each individual monster. I don't want that. Someone came up with a table. Okay, that's an. Oh, I found this table. Oh, is it this one? Oh, this is just AC. Come on, someone's got it, right? Oh, someone had it, and I was like, it was so helpful. Oh, there's a specific guy blog of holdings chart. Let me check. Ooh, thank you, thank you, thank you. CR. Does he have saving throws for specific? Her. Yeah, I should have bookmarked it. uh, Dude, it was like so helpful. Oh, oh my God! Come on, where is it? It was really high though for con mods. That's my point. At higher CRs. Dude, people are AC. Yeah, AC is cool and all, but that's not what this is about. Okay. I'm gonna find it, guys. Is it just this one? Okay. Maybe they have the average down below or something. Nope. Dude, why can't I find this? This is crazy. $2019. You know what? Let's just use the 2014 one and you'll get the gist of it, okay? You'll get the gist of it. Or I can't even find that one now. Oh, come on. Can't believe I'm taking this long. I might just give up here soon, guys. Maybe just look at images. Ooh, what's this one? Ooh. Save DC. No. Okay, I'll just give you a rough guess. How about this? I'll just pull up actual monsters, okay? And I'll give you like an idea. So let's pull up a CR18. Let's pull up some CR18 monsters, okay? Let's just look up all the CR18 monsters. All of them. I'll specifically filter out the new player's handbook specifically. Or monster manual. Monster manual. Only in the new monster manual. Okay. What? Okay, the only CR18 monster is the Demi-Lich? I didn't know that, but let's see. Okay, con save's only 6. Okay. That's okay. Let's open it up to CR 17 and 19, okay? That's surprising. I didn't expect that. Okay. Oh, thank you, kid. Okay, so +7 con saves. +7. So all the adult dragons have +7. Death Knight +5. Sphinx of Valor +11. Oh, thank you. Oh. Boom. Okay, yes. Okay, so is this con save specifically? Yeah, it's fine. Or is this just all saves on average? Either way is fine. Oh, save. Yeah. So you're level 18. Average save for this is like 12 for CR18. And like it's at least 10. Like, oh my god. I see. Yeah, that makes sense. And you're looking at maybe you maybe have 18 charisma. You maybe have 20 charisma, who knows? But this ability is also on a bloody creature only, and it's once per long rest. And it's a save or suck. If they succeed, you're just done with that ability. And you're level 18, so you're probably fighting things with legendary resistances. So yeah, let's read it, what it can do though, if it hits. Okay. If they fail, the target suffers the following effects. Maimed, the target takes the attack action. It can make, if the target takes an attack action, it can only make one attack. Sluggish, the target speed is halved and it has a -2 penalty to its armor class. Okay, and then these effects last until the target regains hit points. Once the target fails its saving throw against this feature, you can't use it again until you finish the long rest. Okay, so this is a level 18 ability, and it is a worse version of a level 3 spell. Think about that. So slow is a level 3 spell that you can use on any creature. I think is slow a con save? I'm gonna check that real quick. Slow, all caps. It's a wisdom save, which, yeah, okay. Yeah, DC 19 if you rolled really good stats, but maybe you might have a 17 or 18 if you bump charisma as much as possible. Yeah, it's wisdom, you're right. So we're looking at, yeah, so a level 5 spellcaster can do a better version of this ability on multiple targets. And this level 18 capstone subclass feature can be used once per day on a single target that is bloodied specifically. Yeah. You know what this should freaking do? This should just work. You should be able to use this once per day on a bloody creature. I'm fine with it being on a bloody creature, whatever. And it just works. That's my opinion. Because you're level 18, dude. Yeah. So yeah, that's my opinion. I really like the Gladiator, but I think it just needs some fine tuning. I really like what they did with it, but yeah, yeah, they just need to fine tune it a bit. And yeah, I'll it's definitely my favorite though. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about the abilities, because I like it, you know? But let's move on. Let's go to the Defiled Sorcerer. This Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer. I think this is the subclass that I will disagree with the most for a lot of people. And we'll see what people think. The first thing I'll say about it is I like it. I like the concept of it. And I like that they're using different mechanics than are usually seen with 5e subclasses. And I like the creativity. Yeah, I think Gladiator does need to exist. I think there is definitely things that could, how do I say? I think the fighter does need to exist. Oh yeah, for the setting, this subclass is great. But yeah, let's get to the Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer. So for the setting and for the thematics of Dark Sun, this is a great subclass. Just the mechanics of it, I have some problems with, but I like their creativity. So let's go over it. So you got your innate power, Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer, siphon life into catastrophic spells. Your innate power siphons life essence from the surrounding world. At your command, creatures grow sick and plants wither to husks. Sorry, that was gross. I had a little burpee thing. I'm gonna make the chat a little smaller. You draw power from the corruption of life itself, draining vitality to fuel destructive magic. Level 3, Defile and Empower. Once per turn, when you roll damage for a spell you cast using a spell slot, you can siphon your life energy into the spell and empower it. Roll a number of your unexpended hit point dice, up to a number equal to half the level of the spell slot expended, round up minimum of 1 die, and add the total rolled to 1 damage roll of the spell. Those hit point dice are then expended. So first of all, I would like to say, this base feature, I have no problems with for the most part. I think it's really cool. And one of the things that I really like about it is some abilities that are similar to this. I'm not talking about abilities that use hit dice. I'm talking about abilities where you get to add extra damage to spells. A lot of abilities like this, a good example is the Celestial Patron Warlock, where you get to add radiant damage to an attack that you've done radiant or fire damage to. You can add radiant or fire damage to an attack that you've done radiant or fire damage to. Usually, you specifically can only add the damage to one target. This just lets you add damage to any spell. So, like, if you're casting Fireball, you can add the damage to all the targets hit by Fireball. And that's really cool. I like that. Using your hit point dice, that's so cool. I really like that mechanic. And it's on a sorcerer, so your hit point dice are d6s, so it's definitely not too overpowered. It does specifically say, though, you expend your hit dice. It doesn't say your sorcerer hit dice. So you can multi-class and use different hit dice. Oh, it makes it better than Evocation Wizard. Yes, it does. But one of the things, though, is if you're trying to get bigger hit dice, then you're gonna have less ability to cast spells. So it doesn't really help that much, you know. But like, and also, you can only use a number of hit dice equal to half the level of the spell you cast. So number equal to half the level of the spell slot expended. So like, rounded up though, minimum of 1 die. So if you cast a 3rd level Fireball, you can add an extra 2d6, which is pretty cool. The argument I'm seeing for people pushing back on this feature is approach single day adventures. Well, and that's where I would like to get to, is this depends very much on how your table plays. Because, okay, so I was watching a different YouTuber's video on this. And one thing that I could tell based on how they talked about this ability, they definitely play very long adventuring days with a lot of combats. And so they didn't like this feature. But at my table that I play at, and tables that I run, we don't have that many combats in an adventuring day. And so there are times where I very often have unexpended hit dice. So I did watch Colby and Dungeon Dude's video, but I'm talking about Pack Tactics. Pack Tactics hated this feature because I think he plays in games that do. I think he does a lot of combats in one day, which, you know, that's fine. But I think that's why he didn't like this. But at my table, this would be really powerful. So yeah. And then this is the ability that I don't have a problem with, but I think it could get a little annoying for actually playing it at the table. And we're going to get into it. Lifesteal. So instead of drawing on your own life force, you can, when you use this feature, you can try to steal life from another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. The creature makes a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. Creatures that have immunity to exhaustion condition automatically succeed on the save. On a failed save, in place of rolling your own hit dice, roll a number of the creature's unexpended hit point dice, up to a number equal to half the level of slot expended. Round down, minimum of 1 die. You then add the total rolled to 1 damage roll of the spell, and those hit dice are expended for the creature. Once creature fails this save against lifesteal, you can't use lifesteal again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend 3 sorcery points, no action required to restore your use of it. So again, this is a very limited ability, so that's good to keep in mind. You can use sorcery points to fuel it, but yeah, mostly a very limited ability. And Caden, I'm actually going to bring up Colby and Dungeon Dudes. When Colby and the Dungeon Dudes talked about lifesteal, they talked about it in a completely different way than I would have even thought of. And we're going to get to that. So lifesteal is designed to be used on monsters. Like, it's intended to be used on monsters. But it says creature. And they added a new mechanic in 2024 where you can choose to fail saving throws. So your party members could willingly fail the con save, and you could use your party members' hit dice. I don't think this is intended. Maybe it is, but it's not the goal of the ability. Does that make sense? Anyway. Okay. This is my problem with this. As someone who DMs, monsters do have hit dice, technically, on their stat blocks. It's a thing that is mostly used to calculate their HP. Oh, I'm going to pull up a monster hit dice, monster stat block, just to show you. Let's go with a beefy. Okay, yeah, let's go with a beefy one. Let's go with how about we go with a this level 3 ability. Let's go with a half dragon, since half dragons are level CR5. Okay, so there's only a CR5 monster. 14 D10 hit dice right here. That's a lot of hit dice, first of all. So technically though, your DM would probably have to track hit dice, and that's another thing the DM has to track, which is annoying. But also, like, let's say Hellhound's a lower CR. Honestly, maybe it's not a problem though, because monsters have so many hit dice, and you can only use it so many times. So maybe I'm overthinking it, and I'm glad I didn't necessarily look it up. Again, this is a CR0, but like they have 1. Like, yeah, monsters have so many hit dice. It's probably fine. Okay, so hit dice, by the way, are calculated by monster size. So this Hydra is a huge size creature, so they have D12s. But if you go to a gargantuan size creature, they use D20s, which is crazy. But they also have a very high con mod, so it might not. It'll be harder to succeed. There's so many things to talk about here. Oh my gosh, guys. Let's go to a dragon. Go to a green dragon. Let's run the G's. Ancient green dragon. So ancient green dragon has 23 D20s. Okay. So yeah, It's con, right, too? Okay, so let me go over this. So the creature makes a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. So it's the thing is, Lifesteal is not a spell, so I don't think you could use heightened spell meta magic with it either. That's something to keep in mind too. So they have to fail a con save. Yeah. Okay, so my main criticism was going to be that DMs would have to keep track of monster hit dice, but now I don't care anymore because I just realized that monsters have so many hit dice, so you probably wouldn't even have to track it. You could just assume they have unlimited unless they're like a smaller creature. And especially because you have to use 3 sorcery points to use this again. Yeah, it's fine. That part's fine. It's more, you have to track the exhaustion levels. Actually, no, it doesn't give them exhaustion. What it does is if they're immune to exhaustion, then it doesn't work. Or does it give them? I don't think it gives them exhaustion. That would be kind of cool if it did, though, to be honest. Maybe a little too strong, but yeah, it's just like, what creatures are immune to exhaustion, though? I feel like that's. I bet there's some like undead that are. Well, let me check. Let me look at some undead creature type. Let's look at high level undead. Let's look up like the Death Knight. Yeah. Yeah, immunity is exhaustion. Yeah, you can't use it on a lot of undead creatures. Okay, so yeah. Maybe this ability is just fine, and I thought about it too hard. I feel like that's the case. Okay, I like it. I like it now. I like it now, guys. It's cool. But I think it should say, I don't think you should be able to use your party members' hit dice. I feel like that's kind of dumb. I don't know. Oh, constructs too are immune to exhaustion. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's read some other stuff though. Let's look at this spell list. So we get, and remember, expanded spell lists are really important for sorcerers because sorcerers don't get as many spells as other spellcasting classes. So we get Defiler spells. We get blindness, deafness, inflict wounds, rave enfeeblement, rave sickness, bestow curse, vampiric touch, blight, hallucinatory terrain, and anti-life shell and contagion. Honestly, thematically, this spell list is awesome. In play, actually playing it, a lot of these spells are kind of bad. So that sucks. But they're all really good. They're all really thematic. Bestow Curse is pretty good. Anti-Life Shell is pretty good. Hallucinatory Terrain is decent, depending on what you're doing. But Blindness, Deafness, yeah, the new Inflict Wounds is bad. Rave Enfeeblement, not very good. Rave Sickness, not very good. Vampiric Touch isn't very good. Yeah. Blight is good if you're fighting plants. And yeah. But it is thematic. Let's go to level 6 though. We have Corrupted Caster. You learn further ways to tap into the corrupting magic within yourself, granting you the following benefits. Defiler's Ward. When you take a bonus action to transform sorcery points into a spell slot, which I personally wouldn't do very often. I would usually do the opposite. Anyway, though, you can wreathe your body into a protective web of defiling energy. Roll a number of d6s equal to the level of the spell slot created. You gain temporary hit points equal to the total rolled. If a creature hits you with a melee attack roll while you have temporary hit points, the creature takes necrotic or poison damage, your choice, equal to your charisma modifier. Huh. Wait a second. Strengthened Rot. Damage dealt by your sorcerer spells and sorcerer features ignores resistance to necrotic and poison damage. Necrotic damage is good. Poison damage, nope. Yeah, Blight is incredibly thematic, so I like that it's on the spell list, but it's just kind of sad because it's a sorcerer spell list, and sorcerers are really, lacking in spell diversity. Anyway, if I'm reading this right, this is a bit better than when I first read it. Okay. So, yeah, that would be crazy. But okay. Take away the first paragraph, read the second paragraph by itself, because it doesn't rely on the first paragraph. It says, if a creature hits you with a melee attack roll while you have temporary hit points, doesn't matter the source. It doesn't say it matters the source. The creature takes necrotic or poison damage, your choice, equal to your charisma modifier. That's just if you have any temporary hit points from any source, no matter what. It doesn't have to be the temporary hit points from the first part of the ability. You don't even have to use the first part of the ability for that to work, based on how I'm reading it. That's pretty cool, especially because every class gives you temporary hit points now. Yeah, I like that. But the actual first part of the ability, I don't really like. Mostly just because I feel like it's kind of dumb. I don't know. Because I don't use sorcery points to convert into spell slots very much. So I feel like if I use sorcery points to convert into spell slots, it would be specifically just to use this ability. And that's very expensive. Because I don't know. You're using, let's say you use 5 temporary hit points to give yourself a 5th level spell slot back. Then you get 5d6s of temporary hit points. But then you use a 4th. You use a ton of your sorcery points. That's pretty beefy. That's pretty. Maybe that's actually really good. Actually, though. Oh man. If you have Armor of Agathis from multiclass. Oh my. Dude, there's so many implications of this. Maybe I love this actually. I don't know. This ability is kind of. I feel like. Okay, this is my opinion of it. I think I figured it out. For very specific builds, this ability could be freaking awesome. For a typical sorcerer, it's just okay. That's my final opinion of it. Yeah. I will like this ability as someone who makes build videos, but as a average sorcerer, it's okay. Okay, especially if you don't multi-class. Level 14, we have Withering Aura. When you use your innate sorcery, an aura of defiling magic fills a 15-foot emanation originating from you while your innate sorcery is active, granting you the following additional benefits. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Dip into Warlock False Life for days. The thing about Warlock False Life, though, is you don't get access to the spell in your spell list. At least I don't think you do. And you can only cast it at first level, so that kind of sucks. And it's an action to get 8 temporary hit points. But anyway, you fill a 15-foot emanation when you have innate sorcery active, which you're a sorcerer, you're probably gonna have it active pretty often. Defiling Shroud. When an enemy within the aura hits you with an attack roll, you can reduce the attack's total damage against you. It's unlimited, yes, but it's unlimited 8 points, and it's an action. I just feel like it's not that much temporary hit points, and it requires your full action. And that kind of sucks. But you are a sorcerer, so you can use Quicken Spell. But I feel at high levels, I just feel like 8 points is gonna go away so quickly. But anyway, you can reduce that attack's total damage against you. The reduction equals your charisma modifier. Yeah, that is true. You're guaranteed to have it on before a fight, so it'll be good. It'll be good at the beginning of a fight for sure. And it is level 6. So 8 is pretty good at level 6. And then you got Essence Siphon. When an enemy dies within the aura, you regain 1d4 sorcery points. Once you use this benefit, you can't regain sorcery points in this way until you use innate sorcery again. Okay. Withering Aura, I think, makes the other abilities better because this subclass relies this subclass to be the most effective relies on a lot of sorcery point uses. Yeah, I think comboing this with a Fiend Warlock would actually be insane. Again, though, Fiend Warlock is based on your Warlock level and Charisma mod. So, like, to use that 3rd level ability. But, like, yeah, that would be a good combo. I think what's interesting about this is I feel like your playstyle would change a lot throughout the lifespan of playing this character. You start out with not very many abilities that help you as as being like more in melee range until level 6, and then it is on a very expensive resource, and then you don't get a way to reduce how expensive that resource is until level 14. Because but I think by level 14 you can play a sorcerer playstyle where you're casting spells in close range combat. And that's pretty cool. Because you can reduce damage. You can, when enemies die, you can get sorcery points back. Yeah, but it's like a blade singer with no abilities to use weapons at all. So it's like a melee range caster, which is interesting. And you are a sorcerer, so you do have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So that is cool. But anyway, at level 18, we got Superior Defiler. You've perfected your ability to control and channel defiling magic, granting you the following benefits. Fouled Soul. You have immunity to the poisoned and exhaustion conditions. Furthered Defilement, the size of your withering aura increases to a 30-foot emanation. I'm gonna reread that. Further Defilement, the size of your withering aura increases to a 30-foot emanation. In addition, enemies can't regain hit points while in your aura. Thematically, really cool. As an 18th level capstone, it's just okay. So my final verdict for the Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer, I think it's pretty cool. I really like Defile and Empower. I was a little skeptical about it at first. I think Lifesteal should specifically say hostile creatures, or it should say enemies. I don't think you should be able to use it on your allies, personally. Also, I think it's very table dependent on how good it is. If you have a lot of long rests, if you have a lot of short rests, and you have a lot of combats in your campaigns, then this ability isn't really that good. If you don't have a lot of combats in an adventuring day, and you don't end up using a lot of short rests, this ability is really, really strong. Spell list isn't great. The level 6 ability is pretty cool but expensive. The 14th level ability is where the subclass kind of completes itself, and a lot of the bad parts about it kind of fill in, but that is all the way at level 14, which a lot of people don't even get to. And then level 18 is just okay. So I think they should do can't even talk. I think they should do some adjusting of things. And I think they should maybe give it a bit more maybe give it a way to like get sorcery points back easier. Like, what if you could use lifesteal to get sorcery points back in some way? I think that'd be kind of interesting, to be honest. Because, yeah, I think you should be able to siphon life in different ways. Because just being able to siphon life to add damage, I feel like is kind of a very like maybe you should be able to use the hit point dice for different things. Because right now all it does is add damage, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, I think it would be cool if you could use it to get sorcery points back, or if you could use it, I don't know, in other ways. Maybe it just does damage when you lifesteal an enemy. Like, why does it have to use their hit point dice? I don't know. You being immune to exhaustion makes you better than undead and undying warlock patrons. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. Exhaustion, I feel like, doesn't come up as much as you'd think. And it's all the way at level 18. But, I don't know. Yeah, you're very offensive at the start and then suddenly very defensive by the end. Yeah, it's like you want to play like the beginning of your playthrough, you're like way in the back line, trying your best to do a bunch of damage, and then all of a sudden it changes play style completely. And it's like, I don't really know what the designers had in mind for how you play this character, and that's kind of unfortunate. All right. Then we have the Sorcerer-King Patron Warlock. This is the one I have read the least of. Mostly I've read every single one of them. I read their 3rd level ability pretty intensively, and then I didn't read their other high level abilities as thoroughly. That's because the 3rd level ability usually defines a subclass, and then the other stuff is like secondary. So yeah. Yeah, imagine making a range paladin subclass that makes you melee by the end. Yeah, that would be really weird. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say I love the thematics of the Sorcerer-King Patron, and I think it's a very cool way to sort of I feel like this opens up new ways to do warlock subclasses, and I like that. And it's very thematic for the Dark Sun setting. So, Sorcerer-King Patron, herald tyrannical might of monstrous rulers. Your pack draws from the power of a monstrous tyrannical force akin to a demigod or an overwhelming powerful magic user. Through your pact, you herald this tyrant's interests. You herald this tyrant's interests in the world, channeling their influence and mind-bending psionic power. So, from what I know about Dark Sun, the people that kind of rule the world are these Sorcerer Kings. And they're kind of like the people that kind of ruin the world. Oh yeah, that's good to know. And again, this is me who hasn't played any Dark Sun, but has just read about it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems to be what they are in Dark Sun. So the idea of your patron being a guy that you can just like meet, including a dragon that's the strongest of them all. Oh, that's cool. Like what's interesting about this is if you're playing in the Dark Sun setting, then maybe the BBEG is your patron, you know, like stuff like that. I feel like that could be very interesting. Okay, and then we got Sorcerer King spells. And remember, the new warlocks, their spell lists are auto-prepared, unlike the original 2014 warlock. But there's also an important psionic casting part to it. So instead of being a lich, the Sorcerer Kings use their powers to become dragons. Dude, that's friggin' cool. Honestly, I love that. Okay, so you get psionic casting. When you cast a spell from the Sorcerer-King spells table, you can do it without verbal or material components, except material components that are consumed by the spell or that have a cost specified in the spell. That's really cool. Again, this is akin to the Scion class that we saw in one of the previous UAs. And that's also really cool because that's a very Dark Sun thing from what I hear. So yes, so we get, and remember, and when I list these spells out, think about doing these without verbal components or material components. Okay, so we got Command, Compelled Duel, Hold Person, Mind Spike, Wrathful Smite, Fear Sending, Compulsion, Staggering Smite, Dominate Person, Synaptic Static. Those are great. Those are really great in my opinion. I love that spell list. And like, imagine not being able to be counterspelled from all those spells. Like that's awesome. I really like that. So my question is, where's my dragon powers in the subclass or the Sorcerer King sub feature? They covet magic and power. Where's that? Yeah, that's the thing. Is this is probably the most directly Dark Sun subclass, and they seem to have not have. And the thing too is, people have been asking for a dragon patron warlock forever, you know. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. In level 3, we got Tyrant's Herald. You gain the following benefits: intimidating presence. You gain proficiency in the intimidation skill if you don't already have it. You also have expertise in intimidation. That's pretty cool. They're not scions. Oh, okay. But isn't there some sort of connection to scions in Dark Sun? Like, isn't like magic not like as much of a thing or something? I remember reading something about that. And then you got, is it that people that aren't Sorcerer Kings are scions or something? Anyway. And then we got Voice of Tyranny. They're Defiler wizards. Ah, okay. I see. You can okay, this Voice of Tyranny bothers me because it's literally the Glamour Bard 3rd level ability, but more limited, and you don't have to concentrate on it. It bothers me just because it feels lazy. It feels like they could have made this a completely different thing, but they just used the Glamour Bard ability. By the way, if you want to see a Glamour Bard build I did, in the full video of this, I'll put it up in the cards, but I did a whole Glamour Bard build, and it's one of my favorite builds I did. It's called the Debuff Diva. But anyway, Command is a very good spell, and being able to use it as a bonus action, charisma modifier times per long rest as a warlock, is very cool. And I will say, even though it is a copy of the Glamour Bard, I feel like it is kind of a different, like, the Glamour Bard is very charming, and that's why they can command. That's why they can use command. This is kind of a little different spin on it, where it's like, this is command because this character is very like intimidating and they're like a tyrant theme. So like it is a different like thematics, but it literally is exactly like the Glamour Bard ability, and that feels lazy to me. But then we got scions are natural races. I.e. half giants and Thycrene. It's something people are born with because of the harsh conditions. Think the Deadpool movie where they force out your mutant power. Oh yeah. Huh. Then that is kind of weird then, why they decided to make them kind of psionic, the Sorcerer King patron. So yeah, I think this is mechanically very good, but lazy. And then level 6 we have Decisive Edict. Your patron's power surges through you, allowing you to rally your allies and subjugate your enemies when you cast a spell using a pack magic spell slot. So this does not have to be a Sorcerer King spell. It just has to be a Warlock spell using a pack slot. Or it just has to be a spell using a pack slot. So if you multi-class, as long as you're using a pack slot, this works. You can cause profane power to erupt in a 30-foot emanation originating from you. For each creature you can see in the emanation, choose one of the following effects. So you can only use one of these abilities, but it can be different for every creature. Does that make sense? So you can't use multiple abilities. You can't use multiple abilities on the same creature, but you can use different abilities on each creature. And is there a third one? No, just two. Okay. So we have Marshal. The creature has advantage on attack rolls until the end of its next turn. That's the one you use on your allies. Then we got Oppress. The creature must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or have the Frightened condition until the end of its next turn. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or a long rest. You also regain use of this feature when you use Magical Cunning. So pretty limited ability. But you're probably going to be able to use this once per combat at least. By lore, I thought Sorcerer Kings were trying to ascend to Dragondom or something like that. Yeah, that's what Caden was saying. So yeah. But that also means that they might be doing something different than in that Dark Sun book that they're probably coming out with, which that, for Dark Sun fans, that's kind of unfortunate if they change it up too much. But yeah, so we got you give your party advantage, and you frighten creatures, but only until the end of their next turn. It's fine. Not amazing, not terrible. No dragon theme, except the general sort of vibes that dragons kind of have. Like, some dragons are thematically very tyrannical, but that's it. You're not getting any dragon abilities at all. Okay, so we got level 10, Vindictive Rebuke. And I have dived into, because I've designed a lot of my own subclasses based on the 2024 rules. This is very typical for warlocks. All warlocks in the player's handbook, the new player's handbook, have a level 10 feature that's very defensive. So let's read it though. You learn to rebuff those who challenge you or the might of your patron. When an enemy hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to force the enemy to re-roll the d20. And the enemy must use the new roll. Okay. If this reaction turns the attack roll into a miss, the triggering creature takes psychic damage equal to your warlock level. Okay. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, and you regain all expended use when you finish a long rest. That's fine. Not amazing, but fine. And then we got Absolute Tyranny, level 14. Actually, wait. One thing I want to mention about Vindictive Rebuke first, though. This is important. So it's not... Okay. So, let's say you have the Luck feat, which you're a warlock. So you have easier access to origin feats. You could take, if you don't take it with your background, you could take it with Lessons of the First Ones, which, if you don't know, it's an invocation where you can get an origin feat as the invocation. The Luck feat, you can, for free, with no action, make an attack roll against you disadvantage. Disadvantage doesn't stack, but this ability makes the enemy reroll a d20. So it's not disadvantage. So this would stack with disadvantage. So let's say you are getting hit by something that you really don't want to hit you, and you have the Luck feat. You can make it disadvantage. Let's say it still hits you with that disadvantage. Then you can make it reroll the d20. Just something to think about. Okay. Absolute Tyranny. You wield your patron's tyrannical might with absolute conviction. Whenever you cast command, you can target one additional creature within the spell's range. Additionally, a creature frightened by you automatically fails its saving throw against any command you cast. What? Oh, if they're frightened by you. Okay. Huh. Okay. I think this is really cool. Also, think about this, guys. This is something I should have mentioned earlier, but I'll mention now. So the new command, look, I want to point out some things about the new command because I think this is easy to miss if you don't know. I go really in depth on the command spell in my video for my Glamour Bard build. But first of all, oh, the Cannibal Halflings. Yeah, I've heard about those. I'm excited for that. I hope they do that. The command spell. So I know you guys aren't seeing it fully on screen, but don't worry. I'll read whatever is important. A lot of people assume command is like a charm effect. It's not. So no targets are immune to it because has nothing to do with charm, technically. And it's a wisdom save, but this isn't the important part. Using a higher level spell slot, you can affect one additional creature for each spell slot level. Each spell slot level above 1. Okay, so you can use it as a bonus action without consuming a spell slot. That means as your action, you could cast it at a higher level. So you could, at level 14, you could cast command as a bonus action, and you could target one additional creature. So you could command 2 creatures. Then you could use a pact magic slot to cast command at 5th level. And you could target 5 creatures plus an additional creature. So that's 6 creatures. So that's a total of 8 creatures you could target with command with your action and bonus action. And then since you used a pact magic slot, you could activate your level 6 feature, and you could have the creatures have advantage on your allies have advantage on attack rolls, and you could make your enemies make a wisdom saving throw or be frightened by you. And let's say you cast it as an action first, and then let's say some creatures become frightened of you. The main bad guy that you want to really debilitate, they already failed command. Or they failed this saving throw and now they're frightened. Then you can use command as a bonus action, and you can make it so they automatically fail the save. That's pretty cool. If that was convoluted and you didn't catch it, sorry, but that's a pretty cool combo. That's at level 14 though. A lot of things are going to be immune to frightened. So that kind of sucks. It might not be super useful all the time, but a lot of the time this will be pretty good. So yeah. You could theoretically make the BBEG use 2 legendary resistances if it's not immune. That's very true. Also, something to think about. A lot of people forget that, but actually, let me check. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, dragons are probably... I know that dragons are not immune to charm, but they probably are immune to frightened. I feel like that makes sense. Let's see the ancient gold dragon. No, they're not immune to anything but damage types. So yeah, you could frighten a gold dragon. That's crazy. Can you frighten a green dragon? You probably can. A lot of the dragon stat blocks are a red dragon. That's what I'm trying to... Colors, man. Red dragon. Let's look up red. Ancient red dragon. Yeah, they're not immune to anything but fire. You could frighten this guy and then automatically have command work on him, and then make him fail 2 legendary resistances. potentially. That's pretty good, actually. Okay. Again, my pet peeve, Mr. Snuggles, is when a subclass gains abilities from other classes / subclasses. Yeah. Okay, guys. So yeah, this is my final verdict on the Sorcerer-King Patron Warlock. As you guys have let me know, because you guys are a bit more knowledgeable about Dark Sun than me, for the thematics and the Dark Sun campaign setting, it's unfortunate that there isn't more dragon themes. Because, as you guys have said, the Sorcerer King's goal is to eventually become dragons, similar to a lich. Yeah. It feels lazy, like you just said, because it borrows a lot of ability. It has a very similar ability to the Glamour Bard, and then it also, I didn't say this before, but it's like giving a the Archfey Patron Warlock, they get to use Misty Step for free, charisma modifier times prolonged rest. It seems like it's just like, oh, let's just copy and paste, but with a different spell. So that's kind of sad. It's not very creative. And then there isn't any dragon themes. But if I just want to take its mechanics alone, this is a really good and powerful subclass. Warlock is my favorite class. I think I would have a lot of fun playing this subclass at a table. And I will definitely make build videos with the subclass later on, if it, however it ends up being. Yeah. I like this subclass with a lot of conditions. So, yeah. The only thing I can think is that WotC is going to rewrite the lore once again from the ground up. Yeah, and that's a little unfortunate. I would say again, I've never worked at a place like anything like WotC, so I don't know at all. But I would imagine they're probably pretty early in the process of writing the Dark Sun book. So maybe this is sort of their way to see what we want. And there's a potential that there's still time to change things. So maybe, like, let's say they thought to change up how Sorcerer Kings are in the lore. If there's a lot of pushback in this UA, they might go back and make it a little more dragon themed and make Sorcerer Kings in general more dragon themed. So something to keep in mind. If they rename this subclass and have it be a Baldur's Gate 3 subclass for that storyline, I'd be fine with it. Yeah, like you said, an elder brain patron. I feel like that would be really cool because it has the psionic themes. It has the fear effects. It has a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Overall, though, if I want to talk about all these subclasses, I'm gonna real quick give my summary of all four and give my opinion. Circle of Preservation needs a little adjustments, but is mostly good. Gladiator, love it. Definitely needs adjustments though. Defiled Sorcery Sorcerer, I like the level 3 feature. I don't know what the vision of the playstyle of the class is though, and that bothers me. I think this needs a lot of work, but good job with doing something different with the level 3 feature. Sorcerer King, thematics need a little work, because if this is going to be a Dark Sun, very, very much influenced by Dark Sun subclass, it's not very accurate to what a Sorcerer King is supposed to be based on chatters and from what it normally is like. And the mechanics are lazy, and they borrowed a lot from the, not a lot, but they took abilities from another subclass. And yeah, it feels lazy, but it's very effective mechanically. And this one is probably the one that I feel like mechanically alone needs the least amount of changes, but it still feels lazy. I don't know. Kind of complicated answer for the last one, but yeah. The fear effects is the closest we have for a dragon theme, but it's still we have frightful presence at home. Yeah, no, totally. So overall though, I really do like this playtest. It's really exciting that they're doing something different. It's really exciting that we're probably going to get a Dark Sun book. Like, that's super cool. But yeah, definitely I hope there's a second playtest with these subclasses. They've been doing a lot of one playtests with subclasses and they don't bring them back. Like, I don't think they did a second playtest for the Forgotten Realms for the Forgotten Realms subclasses. I really hope there's a second playtest with more subclasses. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion. If you guys like subclasses though, I actually make my own subclasses, and I have a Patreon where I have right now I'll show you. It's down in the description too. So I have this collection of subclasses. I have the Circle of Herbalism Druid that I came out with this much. I have the Gravity Warden Ranger. This one's free. And then I have the Oath of Radiance Paladin. And then next month, I'm coming out with the College of Pantomime Bard, which is like a mime bard. So if you want to check those out, you can check out my Patreon in the link in the description. And you also get like early access to videos, and like I got 3 tiers. One gives you early access to videos in a special Discord channel. This one gives you access to all of my PDFs, and I got another Discord channel that is you get way early access to other stuff, and then I have a 5th tier, a 3rd tier where you get I say your name at the end of videos and you get all the other stuff. So yeah. But anyway, if they get 80%, if they get 80% or better or below 55, we don't see them again. Only Hexblade got a second look, if I recall. Yeah, I feel like that's right. Cool. By the way, if you guys just entered the stream or whatever, and you don't want to watch the VOD, I'm gonna be releasing regular videos for all these subclasses from this VOD. So I'm gonna edit it down. I'm gonna take out a lot of the fluff, and I'll probably release them early on my Patreon, at least by a day. I might just release them all on my Patreon as soon as I'm done editing it. And then throughout this coming week, I'll post one like I'll probably post one on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll see. Hexblade was hated and people wanted the old one back. The second one we got was WotC's Compromise. Yeah, I actually have a whole video going over the Hexblade if you want to check it out. I did the initial review, and then I also did the second one. I forgot exactly how I felt about it, to be honest, but I definitely didn't like the first iteration. I was more okay with the second. Oh man. By the way, guys, I'm probably this week gonna release my sort of playtest for my mime bard, my College of Pantomime bard. If you guys want, though, I can kind of tell you about it. And like we're here anyway. I got extra time. So I don't have the PDF. Like I usually make a little PDF. Yeah, thank you so much, Caden. I really appreciate it. So how this mime bard works. First of all, I want to interpret like how I view a mime in the D&D world. So in D&D, you know, magic is real. I want my cannibal halfling barbarian subclass. We might still get it. Who knows? They might do another playtest with more subclasses, you know. But okay, so I feel like a lot of people when they think of like a mime magic, they think of illusion magic. I disagree. Because illusion magic, especially in D&D, is you seeing things and hearing things that aren't actually there. You know what I mean? And what mimes do is the opposite, kind of. Is you don't see anything. But if it's magic, then of course they actually make the things. So for example, what I mean is I'm going to have an ability where the mime can make an invisible wall. And I would argue that that's conjuration magic. That's not illusion magic. Because I'm not taking a real wall and making it invisible. That would be illusion magic. I am making a wall that wasn't there before. And that's conjuration. So I have this class of the first ability is basically they don't have to use somatic components, or they don't have to use verbal components for conjuration and transmutation spells. And then they get access to the silence spell for free. And when they're concentrating on silence, they don't have to use any verbal components for any of their spells. And then also silence is a conjuration spell for them. That's so they can cast silence without verbal components. Then they get two abilities. The first ability they get as a reaction to getting hit, or when they give someone a bardic inspiration die, they can put an invisible wall in front of them. That's a 5x5 wall, and it counts as total cover. And if you use it as a reaction, instead of hitting you, the attacker hits the wall, and the wall has an AC and HP that scales with your level. And if you use it when you give someone a bardic inspiration, then yeah, it just is in front of you. And then their second ability they can use is they can consume a bardic inspiration die. And basically, what happens is you make it so your movement speed goes up by half. So if you have 30 movement speed, you get 45. And then however much you move, you can I worded it I'm going to find out how to word it better. But basically, let's say there's a big cliff and you want to cross it. You can walk on the air and it becomes an invisible bridge. Or you can walk vertically and you can make a ladder appear, and it's limited by your movement. Or you can make a rope appear. Like basically you get to conjure ropes and bridges and ladders and stuff. And then what was the sixth level ability? I forgot. I'm gonna have to. I didn't forgot. It's just written down. Oh, similar to the airwalk spell from 3.5. Yeah, that's super cool then. Oh yeah, invisible rope. Okay. So you know like mimes like pull ropes and stuff? They do that. So, okay, when you cast a bard spell from the conjuration or transmutation skill, a school using a spell slot, you can pull an invisible rope as part of the same action. Choose a one larger, smaller creature within 30 feet of you. The creature must succeed on a strength saving throw against your spell save DC or be knocked prone. You can use this feature only once on each of your turns. So actually, kind of, but like I said earlier, it's. I would argue that it's not illusion magic; it's conjuration, because he's making invisible things real. I do have an invisible force cage. That is a level 14 ability. This is the one that I'm fine tuning a bit more. It's level 14. It's called Mime's Box. It's basically giving you Force Cage, but without casting Force Cage. And the reason why is the new Force Cage is kind of expensive to cast. I could make you cast it. I could just make it so that you cast it without spell components. But I feel like that's kind of boring. So I basically made a feature that has you do a Force Cage type ability. And yeah. And yeah, I'm still figuring out the wording of it. That could be good. I just like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are a little tired of the spells as features stuff, and so I'm a little afraid to just make it. You get to cast Force Cage without material components, and it only lasts a minute. That's so clean though and simple. So I might just make it that. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely if I don't do that, I'll definitely have a Force Cage like ability. But yeah, so basically you can make walls appear. You can do some castings without using verbal components. Uh, I can see that, but it'd be not that different from the Fey Wanderer Ranger summoning Fey. Yeah, you're right. You can make invisible ladders and ropes and bridges appear. You can pull people and knock them prone with invisible ropes, and you can do like a Force Cage box thing. So, yeah, I think it's fun. I already commissioned the art. The art's gonna be done. I think the artist told me he is gonna have it done by this upcoming Wednesday, which is super cool. And then yeah. But anyway, guys, I'm probably gonna head out though. I need to edit this into VODs that I can post. So I'm gonna do that. But I'll probably post that Mime Bard by Monday. Yeah, I think I'll post it by Monday. And then I'll post these VODs throughout the week. When I mentioned the illusion subclass, I was thinking the 14th level feature that makes illusion magic real. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that does make sense. I always thought the illusion wizard was kind of weird though. I don't know. And for me, I think the mime is it's one of those things where it does make sense. Illusion magic does make sense for it, but like I said, I feel like it's the opposite. It's almost like it's this weird thing where it's like it's making because you don't see anything when a mime does his mime stuff. He's making you feel like there's something there without showing you anything. So I guess that is kind of an illusion, but like if it's real, then it's not. I don't know. But anyway, um, yeah, and then the spells that you get access to that are illusion and transmutation, The problem is the mime could conjure, but it's all invisible. Well, that's the thing is I can't do that for the spells because I feel like that would be really complicated. But that's what's fun is all his summoning stuff is going to be invisible. The walls are invisible. You could have the features be seen with seen visibility and choose. Dude, actually, I thought about doing that, but I realized that it's really okay. So right now in D&D, Wall of Force is invisible, but there is no mechanic that says people with true sight can't see through it. And I feel like that should be a thing, so that true sight people are kind of like hindered by it. Oh yeah, also blind sight, yeah. But because there isn't already a precedent for that mechanic, I I feel like it's too complicated. I don't know, but that's the one of the struggles about subclass design is you have to sort of like you can't make things too complicated, and you have to look at precedent a little bit. Yeah, I know, right? I think if I did do that, I would do it for invisible wall only and not the other things because it would only be helpful for invisible wall. But yeah, so basically you make invisible wall and it can be opaque and can't be seen and blocks line of sight for people with seen visibility or true sight up. That could be cool. Because normally enemies having true sight is a really bad thing for you, but this all of a sudden makes it a good thing for you, and that's kind of fun. Yeah, I might add that. But what I like the thematics of is invisible wall. A creature's going to attack you, and then your mime bard does this thing, and then instead of attacking you, they run into this wall. That's just so fun to me. Instead of force gauge, what about wall of stone so it doesn't feel as powerful? That could be cool. Or it could just be wall of force. Because wall of force is very thematic. You know, it's basically the invisible wall ability that they already get level 3 but stronger, and then it can be used with invisible wall. So yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna put up that playtest probably on Monday, see what people say, and I'll definitely take your input. It is, but as you said, it's expensive. Yeah, it is. Oh, totally. Oh, because it requires, yeah, because Wall of Stone just pops up, right? It doesn't. It isn't concentration. I might be misremembering it. And maybe for you, Wall of Stone is invisible. Oh no, it's concentration too. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, but you could make Wall of Force. You could make it free for this bard, you know. Yeah, they're both 5th level spells, so Wall of Force is way more thematic than Wall of Stone. But yeah, the Force Cage. Force Cage is a level 7 or 6. I think it's a level 7, yeah. Yeah. And you'd be level 14, so you'd have access to level 7 spells the level before. So I think it would be balanced. I don't think it would be too crazy. So yeah, you can cast Force Cage, and it doesn't cost, and you ignore material components. Yeah, I feel like that would be simple and easy. Wouldn't be too bad. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna do my editing thing. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much, Caden, for hanging out. And yeah, I'll be posting these on Patreon as soon as I get done editing them. And then we'll see it on YouTube a few days later. So yeah. Peace out, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch